YouTube. It is Felicia, Fee_Wisdom 2. That is my name on Instagram. I'm hoping everyone is having an awesome day. So I have a few questions, few answers that people have been questioning about, but a lot of people have been wondering about my testimony. Felicia, tell us about you. Who are you? Like, we see you post things on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, and we can see that you're a Christian. You profess Christianity. You profess about Christ. Tell us about you. And of course, I am a believer. I'm a born again believer of Jesus Christ, and that is the life that I live. That's what I profess. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But every day I strive to live righteous, holy unto God, not because it's popular, because it's really not, but but that is what we are commanded to be, holy, and that's what we're commanded to do, to continue to live in holiness. But my past is not pretty. People are always intrigued with my testimony. I do not like to share my testimony a lot for whatever reason. But I do know the reason. More so, I don't like to share my testimony a lot because I hate to go back. But as we know, our testimony is not for us. It is not for ourselves. It is for the next person to overcome their testimony and get them to a place where they're comfortable talking about their testimony so they can help someone else. God's love really is a domino effect. His deliverance is a domino effect. You understand? So I'm just going to jump right into it. I grew up, I didn't have a perfect childhood. I don't think nobody did, but there are people that have a normal childhood. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. My wonderful mother, I was raised with her, my little brother, and with my brother's dad. I never met my biological father. That's another video. Yeah, typically, yeah, we lived in that. We didn't live in the projects. We lived in it's apartment buildings. We lived on Lenox, all the hood spots in New York. We lived there. Then at the age of 6, I was raped and molested by a family member. And from then, things just kind of de-escalated. De-escalated. I should have went up, not down. De-escalation, go up. De-escalate, go down. Either way, yes, I was raped and molested by a family member. And from then it was other people, either friend of the family or people that was close to the family, that either molested me or had a lot of sexual comments about my lips or how beautiful I was at the age of 6. I'm not saying it's wrong for any human being to tell a 6-year-old that she's beautiful, but in the content of being sexy and we don't know what that is. A 6-year-old don't know what that is. A 6-year-old shouldn't know what sexy is. So and after that, I was also, then I seen a lot of abuse, physical abusement in my home. So I grew up an angry kid. I grew up angry, and as I got older, I was addicted to pornography. The spirit of lust, fornication, that door was open to me at a very young age because of what I experienced, because of the molestation and the rape and everything else. It opened up that door. See, the thing about Satan is, he's such a dirty fighter, is that once he get an inch in, to get in, he don't just come in with what he's able to come in with that inch of space. He comes in with a whole vast majority of things. So no, not only was, I was, raped and molested, but it opened the door for pornography, opened the door for fornication. I grew up a pervert. I was into my mind. I remember playing with Barbie dolls and just being attracted to my Barbie dolls because they had boobs. But that's what he does. And it's important that, just to fast forward for a little bit, me being a parent now, it's very important that I cover my son. I cover my future children, and just being more aware. Not saying my mother did a horrible job raising us or anything like that, but the enemy had space to come in somehow. So yes, so growing up at the age of 15, I got pregnant and I had my son at 16. But prior to that, pornography was something that I did Monday through Friday, just watching it and just aroused, and that's what it did. It was feeding whatever was desiring in me, and that was sex, that was a lust, that was this unrighteous, unholy thing that was just eating up inside of me. And every time that I watched it, it fed that thing in me that was wanting it. So, when I got pregnant at 16, for one, it was a taboo to talk about sex in my family at all. So here I was in high school pregnant and really not understanding the concept of what I did. I know I had sex, unprotected sex, but no one ever sat down with me to talk to me about sex or why I should stay away from it, till I get married. And so during my upbringing, when I was, around when I was a teenager, probably 18 and up, I would date guys, get in a relationship with them, and just have sex with them. That was this world standards. You get in a relationship, and you think you're in love and you're in deep, intense like, which is really lust. So you fornicate, not realizing the spirits that we pick up, not realizing that spirits don't just stay in one person. They transfer over, which is why God requires us now not to fornicate. He don't do it just to be this mean God. There's a reason behind his word, period. So yes, that's the beginning of my testimony, so if you think of a combination of so much, not having that father figure around, then these doors open to me of lust. I grew up a monster. I used men for what I could use them for. I used how I looked. I used with what I had, and it was just that simple. Nobody was able to tell me nothing. Like, I was one of those girls, just like, I was always in a dude's face, very disrespectful, potty mouth, and that's just who I was, and that's where God has brought me from after I had my son. I remember the doctors called me and said, Felicia, we need you to, a month literally after I had my son, the doctors called and said, well, we need you to come back to the hospital. And I'm just like, for what? I'm already home, and this is me with my mouth, neck rolling and everything, and attitude. But I'm like, I'm already home. Would come back, like, my son's here. So I go back to the hospital, and they said, well, you have cancer, you have cervical cancer. And I'm just like, all right, what's what's that, what's up? So of course I did my research on it, but because the cancer was so aggressive, I had to undergo surgery. And even then I didn't know who God really was. I mean, I was raised in a home where I was Catholic. So even then, when that happened, after I got the surgery, I'm like, all right, I'm cool now, I'm cool now. And I bled for months. So this is the reason why the scripture in Mark chapter 5 about the woman with the issue of blood will always be my favorite story, because I can relate to her. Now that I know I can relate to her. Back then I was just like, okay, why am I bleeding? Why can't it just stop? Went from doctors to doctors and it never stopped. So let me tell y'all, I'm trying to tell you, Mark 5 is my story. So yeah, that was my testimony in a nutshell. It's not pretty. I underwent, of course, I had to go to counseling. I didn't have to go to counseling, but I remember at the age of 18, I went to counseling, and I told her, I don't know how to fix this thing that's in my mind, because I'm angry for no reason. I'm fighting for no reason. I needed to stop. And of course, she helped me out. I had to confront the family members that did it. And I think it was hurtful the most when you confront someone that raped you, say they didn't do it, and no one else believed you. So that's another different video at itself. But that just goes to show, again, the forgiveness of God, because I love that family member that did it. And I wish that relationship could be salvaged, but he never forgave himself, but I've forgiven him. And I know I'm going back and forth a lot in the story, in my testimony, and that's because it's not scripted. I'm just telling you off memory and where I am today, walking with the Lord. So yes, that's pretty much my story. But where I am today, And the point of me sharing today, I believe, for one, a lot of women are walking around, and men, and men, and men, and men, and men. I have to say that. But there are a lot of women walking around, they're still hurt. They're married and still hurt. They're mothers and still hurt. They're in relationship. They're leading people. They're leading others, and they're still hurt because they never fixed on the inside, what's going on the inside. It's like driving a car and ignoring that check engine light going on. It's driving well. It looks good, but something is going on the inside. And I thank God that I was able to go through that journey of not only mourning, but understanding and accepting what happened to you. So what happened to me. So not only did I go through counseling, once I got saved, I began going through spiritual counseling. And it's a quick story on how I got saved. I stumbled into my church. Literally, I had no plans on being saved at all in my early 20s. I thought I was just going to live it up, party up, and do it how I've been doing it, and nobody could tell me nothing. But God had other plans. Jeremiah 29:11. I remember when my hairdresser, she said, Felicia, you should come to the church. I'm like, no. And I always had intentions of going to the church, but I always had a hangover. Couldn't get up. I would drink too much. Anyway. So I went to church the next day because she was begging me so much. And I remember my pastor said at the altar call, he said, give the same way when we first start a job, and a job have to put you on probation for 90 days to pretty much test you out to see how you work, to see if they should kick you to boot or not. I dare you to give God 90 days. If he doesn't do nothing in your life, continue living the life that you've been living. But give God 90 days and watch him do something in your life. By nature, I'm a gambler. Bet. That's what I said. And I walked down the altar. And I don't know what possessed me to walk down the altar, although I had that gambling spirit going on. But now I know who led me down that altar. But and that's how I got saved. And he told me to put God to the test. 7 years later, here I am today. Set free, delivered. I can now say I am whole. I can now say I don't have that bondage of lust. I don't have that bondage of being a pervert. I don't have that bondage of what held me. Like I'm free from that, and I'm gonna continue to be free, because I don't know about y'all, but see, what the devil will do is, once you are delivered from something, he will always present it to you again. He ain't just gonna let you win. No. So yes. So that's where I am today. So I share my story again for another female, for another man that is walking around not whole, that is hurting on the inside, and not being able to have an outlet. Besides poetry and writing, God, it was the ultimate outlet that I could ever have. Honestly, there's no way I could have done this walk and gone through what I have gone through without him. There's just no way. Sex numbed it for a while. Black and Mild and weed numbed it for a while. Partying numbed it for a while. But when I was quiet by myself, I had a pain that only God can soothe. Only God can remove and replace it with his comfort, with his love. There's a lot of pretty women that I see up and down my Instagram or on my Facebook, even pretty women that I am close with, that are hurting. You got bad chicks walking around here with bitter souls, and souls that needs just comfort, just love. And they think they could get that from these men out here, and honey, it ain't happening. I say this to, and I think a woman, before she dates or marries a man, she needs to be whole herself. Stop putting these men on these pedestals where God needs to be. Yeah. And for the men that are husbands, that are leaders, that are fathers, walking around hurting because of a sexual abuse, because of a molestation case, because of a touch, someone that did something wrong and they never forgave, and we wonder why they're angry. Beating on their wives, cheating on their wives. And I'm not excusing it, but I'm giving you reasons why it's important for us to share our testimony, in the hopes that we can share, we can help someone else. I hope this video touched people. I hope it does what God has did for me and continue to do for me, is just wrap me in his arms of love and continue deliverance, continue walking in your freedom. And I'm so grateful for the people that he allowed to come in my path to help me be free. You can't do this thing alone. I promise you, you cannot do this thing alone. So shout out to Lady Ya, who she will never, ever, ever, ever know how much she just never know. I'm gonna stop this video before I start crying. But I shout out to her and my other mentor, and of course my pastor, and just different people that God allowed to come cross paths with me. And I pray, oh my gosh, that the next person is set free and delivered, or take steps to do that, especially women and men, to people of God. God don't call us into his marvelous light to stay bound. He just don't. Blessings.